We respectfully request the Sangha great virtues for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cung thính đại đức thắng thịnh, vì thứ pháp hội khắp nhất thiết chúng sanh, thịnh chuyên diệu pháp luân giao đạo ngã môn, như há liêu sanh thoát tư ly khổ đà lạc, tốc chứng vô sanh. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Nam mô Sa Đàn Thọ Su Chế Đô Ye Ở La Hờ Đi San Miao San Pu Tô Chế. Nam mô Tát Đắc Tha Tu Ya Đa Ya La Hà Đế Tam Miệu Tam Bồ Đà Toa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I'm able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu shang sheng sheng wei miao fa bai qian wan jie nan zao yu wo jin见闻的受持，愿解如来真实义。O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Great Master Qingliang, Great Master YongHua, all good monks and nuns, and all good knowing advisors, Emitofuo. 诸佛菩萨、精良大士、是父上人，各位出家人、各位善知识,阿弥陀佛. Chư Phật Bồ Tát kính thưa Thanh Lương Đại sư Hòa Thượng Tiến Hóa, quý thầy cô và quý vị thiện sư Thích Ca Di Đà Phật. Hello everyone, today is the very first day of March 2024. We're here at Way Mountain Temple to continue discussing the prologue of the Avatamsaka Sutra. Prepared by Master Qingliang. Thank you all for joining us. We are right now on slide 760. Background information to situate you is talking towards the end of the classifications of the Buddha Dharma that was taught by the Buddha. The Buddha spent 50 years of his life teaching extensively, and so all those teachings were classified later by his disciples. Those were the sages in Buddhism, to help us understand, get a better grasp of the Buddha's teaching, because the Buddha's teaching is so profound, so vast. So it's helpful to have a way to approach the entire teaching. So for example, if you're a beginner into Buddhism, then you should consider doing the first part of the teaching of the Buddha, which is the Agama teachings or three-store teachings, depending how these various teachers classify them, name them. But so you have these, depending on your level of wisdom and blessings, you can learn the various types of teachings. All right? And so that's why it's always a challenge and for the great monks and nuns to classify the Buddha's teaching to help us out. So we are towards the end of the group of people who advocated that you should divide the Buddha's teaching into 4 types, and this is one of the teachers here. Okay, and so we are in the midst of comparing the externalist, the non-Buddhist teachings, and slide 760 is a continuation. Last week we talked about the Confucianism and the Confucian teachings, which was advocated by a bodhisattva in the flesh who came to the world, our world, as per Master YongHua, to prepare, to pave the way for the Chinese to learn Buddhism. Okay, so he's sort of like kindergarten for Buddhism. So he laid the foundation for the Chinese to accept Buddhism later, much later. And so he's very helpful. He's actually a bodhisattva by the name of Yue Guang, so light of the moon, moonlight bodhisattva. Okay, and so his principle, his teaching, when you hear bodhisattva, and these are not just low-level bodhisattva, but he's enlightened bodhisattva, and so his teachings, the one that he advocated, actually is very sound, very good, very appropriate for the people back then. But from our perspective, we discussed it last week, it has some strengths and some weaknesses, and actually, from our perspective, we can look at his teachings, how we discussed on how appropriate, how relevant the Confucianism is still to our times. So the foundation is still there. Okay, and then another very powerful and influential teacher, non-Buddhist teacher, is Lao Tzu. Okay. Where he actually wrote his teaching in a small book called The 5,000 Sayings. Okay, and so it's very limited, very small. Very small. It's about 5,000, I think, characters. Am I correct? Chinese-speaking people or Korean-speaking people. 5,000 characters, which define his entire teaching. Okay, and in the teaching, how relevant it is to you. It's about the way of non-doing, or the unconditioned Wu Wei. Okay, Wu Wei is no, Wei is doing. So he talked about the philosophy of non-doing. Okay, or the unconditioned, and purity. Why is it relevant to you? It's relevant to you because the Taoists, when they're alive, they like to show off their spiritual penetrations. They float in the air. They show off. They really like to show off. They float in the air, and they manifest their abilities, like they would ride the clouds, okay, and go to places. They would emit light, emit fire, emit water, and all those various types of things. They would like walk on water, if you will. Okay, so they do have spiritual penetrations. Okay, and so that's why for the uninitiated, the people who are not in the know, they would be impressed by it. And so you see, it's easier for people to see concrete things, for them to believe that these teachers actually have the kind of glimpses or insights that ordinary people don't have. So that's why they have a lot of followers in China in particular. And it turns out that Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, was actually Mahakashyapa, the one of the Arhat disciples of the Buddha, who actually, in truth, is a bodhisattva, but manifested himself as an arhat. So that's what bodhisattvas do in Buddhism. And again, they appeared in China to teach Chinese. So if you will, Confucianism is more worldly, more basic philosophy, and Taoism a little bit higher level, where they're more elevated and they're more concerned with the transcendental life, if you will. Your Confucianism is about how you conduct your philosophy of life, for your daily life. Taoism talked about the purity and concepts of the heavenly realms. So you see, both are actually complementary, and they're very, very good. Okay? Mm-hmm. How is Taoism different from Buddhism? The Buddhism, as in slide 760 here, also talked about the unconditioned, okay? But it goes a lot further, okay? Taoism, unconditioned in Taoism means that you don't do anything. You basically are in the heavenly realms, and therefore the teaching is based on your existence in heavenly realms. Or why is it relevant to you? Because it prolongs your life. You practice Taoism, it's a way of the immortals that they know, like they convince the followers to believe that if you practice Taoism, if you're interested, you live forever, which is not true. You live for a long time, but because you live so long that no one knows you anymore, so they think by the time that you die, they still live. So that's why they're called immortals. They don't die. But we die, they die. They don't die, okay? So that's why they're known as the way, the path of the immortals. And that's what they're famous for. And plus they show off, they manifest spiritual powers and so forth. They're real. They're not insignificant. They're real. Because it's just that we Buddhists don't like to show off. If you have no interest in trying to impress you. Okay. For us, spiritual penetrations, we have a lot more than them, but we are more selective. We choose certain types of spiritual penetrations to help our work, which is not to impress you. Okay, whereas their side, they cultivate these powers to impress you, so that you follow them, you believe them. All right, so that's a difference. So in a way, if they talk about the way of the heavens, where they are wu wei or non-doing, what are they doing? Developing spiritual penetration to impress the followers and get sponsors. That's not non-doing at all. You see? So therein lies the facts, historical facts. And the proof of that is that from their descendants, okay, they're still attached to support. They're still attached to getting followers to believe them. Okay, therefore, fundamentally, that's not the way of non-doing. You see that? That's the problem with the half-baked process. I call it half-baked because it's not cooked all the way. So they have wisdom, but it's not quite there yet. It's useful to a certain extent, but not that great for us. Okay? All right? So, and I thought about it. They really live a long time. Master YongHua says, I don't know any of the immortals, but Master YongHua says, and I believe him, that they live in the multiples of 10,000 years. That's a long time. Okay? And in the history of mankind, there's some people that are, we believe to be immortals, like the Comte de Saint-Germain in Europe, okay? He's known because you see that he's manifests himself through the ages in Europe as various nobilities and the same facial features. Okay? And then in Asia, of course, in China in particular, there are plenty of immortals. Okay? For example, I come in contact with a guy called dating Su Dian. Is it Su Dian? Okay, very famous Asian. He has temples in Taiwan everywhere. I ran to his temples. He had a lot of followers. There's even a acupuncturist follower in San Jose I know of. Okay, and because they show off, they select their own followers. They look at you and say, you have potential, so I will teach you. They look at her and say, you have potential, I teach you. But then they look at you, they said, you don't have potential, get out, we're not interested in you. For us, we don't discriminate. Everyone has a Buddha nature. So we teach you for you to get to the best of your abilities until next time. How's that? We don't discriminate. Whether you, at this point, you can get this far, fine. You get higher, that's fine. And then if you can't, next time around, you go higher. Okay? So that's the process. In Buddhism, we don't select. We don't discriminate at all. Man or woman doesn't matter to us. Okay? It's about helping you. And so first of all, so how do they live so long? I don't know, but I'm a curious kind of guy. Okay? I'm very curious. Because if there's something that's good, something's interesting, something you're good at, I like to know more. Okay? Unfortunately, no one told me why they live so long. Okay? I remember my Shishinwa disciples, Heng Chang. I was at Long Beach Monastery and he used to teach us. He has his, they have their Taoist Tripitaka that he got for the temple. So he consulted with that to teach the young novices there. And so he taught us a few things and about Taoists, which is, first of all, weird. In Buddhism, we have so many practices that we don't have enough time to do them. Why would we even spend time doing Taoist practices? Seriously, okay? It's not a good use of my time. For example, if you know there's a surefire way for you to make a lot of money, okay? Why would you do anything else that makes you less money? Unless you're stupid. Okay? Something wrong with your head. So anyway, so he taught us some Taoist practices, and I also met another person who taught me how who revealed some Taoist practices as well. But basically, what I learned from that, and again, I'm very limited exposure. Okay, I don't know everything. Of course, they have their own secrets, and deservedly so. They work very hard for it. And they specialize in it because we don't. Very much like if you specialize in making swords, samurai swords, okay, you have your specialties. No way for us to figure it out because you learn it from your masters, you learn from his master, and so forth for centuries. Okay? The knowledge has been refined for centuries. Who are we to think that we can pick it up in just 80 years, 100 years? That's not possible, okay? So that's lacking in respect for their experience, their wisdom, the worldly wisdom. So anyway, so there's a process I learned where you actually scan through your body and cleanse yourself of your illnesses, okay? Or exhale illnesses, like I'm sure you learn from the non-Buddhist practices where you breathe in and you contemplate. Some of them teach, it's also taught by some Buddhist monks, where you contemplate, you exhale, and you breathe out your sicknesses, for example. And don't blame me, because if I teach you this and it doesn't work, it's because I don't know enough, okay? Well, you could try. For example, I know of a monk, Buddhist monk, who taught me He says, if you have lung cancer, he taught me, he said, what I would teach my people to do, my students to do. This is a Buddhist monk, by the way. He's the first stage arhat. Okay, he died already. So too late for you. You wish to find him, too late. He's in the heavens now. Okay, so he would teach his followers to contemplate as they breathe in. Okay, as they exhale, the air goes through the lungs. Okay, and then pull out the cancer cells from the lungs and push them out. Okay, and blow it into your worst enemies. Okay, that's my. I added that. He didn't teach us that. Okay, I said I would do that if I were you. I'm sure you must be someone in this world where you liked to have to die as soon as possible. Yeah. Okay. So we do it legally. Okay. Might as well have fun while you're healing yourself. So he says he did that. He taught that actually they got some relief. It actually works, by the way. So that process there, you cleanse yourself. It really works. Okay. We can do that too, but we have much more effective ways, and we're not teaching you. Never mind. Okay. I'm boasting, of course. Of course, we also have practices like that as well, but we don't make a big deal out of it. Okay, because for them it's like, hey, I can heal myself. So what's the point in living 10,000 years? What for? I ask you, if you can live at 10,000 years, like some sort of American guy now, some kind of billionaire who's making the news now, he's like, I think I haven't aged for 20 years. So, are you having fun? That's my first question. Are you having fun living? I kid you not. I don't think he's having fun. He's so obsessed with living longer that I'm sure he's sacrificed a lot of things. Okay? How do you live longer, by the way, in Chan? You increase your samadhi, you lengthen your life. So instead of like the Taoists where they say, it's uncool. You know what I mean? Look at me. It's so ridiculous. Okay? It's so low class to me. Okay? So instead of doing that, we have ways to heal ourselves too. And we understand why it happens. So primarily for us, you want to live longer. Naturally, you go a little bit higher level, a little bit higher level, higher level. And you get to the point where actually you live beyond 10,000 years you wish to. But for us, Buddhists, he said, why would we want to live 10,000 years? What's the fun in living 10,000 years when your wife dies on you, your children die on you, your great-grandchildren die on you, and the great-great-great-grandchildren die on you, and then who do you have to live with you? Dogs? Huh? So what's the point in living so long? I ask of you. Huh? And can you imagine you live like 100 years? By the time you reach the age of 100 years, there's so many more computer things you need to learn to keep up with the technology. There's so much work. Every 100 years, it's like, now we're talking about AI, right? And then pretty soon it's going to be some IA or something else. Yes, ma'am. What's the fun in doing this?
Master, by then there could be a robot that listens to your command and serve you.
Then why do you need to live anymore? Transplant yourself into a robot. Huh? Okay? So you see, it's kind of weird. People are crazy about things and they lack purpose, they lack, this wisdom of seeing why are we doing this? Okay? It's only because they don't have the big picture. They don't understand, okay? Why live longer? What for? And what's the fun in living longer? What's the fun in being a nun? I ask you, why? What's the fun in listening to sutra lectures? Okay? Anyway, you have to answer that. I can't help you. So, in Buddhism, we actually teach you the big picture. Instead of talking about the non-doing alone, we also talk about the unconditional non-doing, okay, which is doing nothing, okay, but does not preclude doing at all. That's called what? The way. That's real wisdom. It's not skewed wisdom, slanted wisdom. I said, no, I don't want to do anything. Then what's the point in living? What's the point in having children? What's the point in having disciples? No, never mind. So that's why, you see, it sounds kind of cool, superior, and so forth, but it's not complete. Okay, so the Buddhism is the Buddhist teachings is a lot more balanced, if you will, skewed towards long life or giving up everything. But he also says, hey, there's a time where I give up everything if I wish to, by entering samadhi. There are times where I exit samadhi and live a life like normal. What's the point in living like this guy, this billionaire who's spending, I think, $100 million so far, from my read, and trying to live a little bit longer? I bet you he will not live 10,000 years, that's for sure. Okay? And spending all that kind of money, he's better off learning Taoism and live 10,000 years. Okay? And use his $1 billion to build a lot of Taoist temples. He's much better off. It's because he doesn't know. Okay? Anyway, it's not that impressive. Okay? So in Buddhism, we have those things. And I give you, for example, in Buddhism, we're not interested in living 10,000 years. The arhats, for example, low level for us, can live for as long as they want. But what for is ultimately the question we all have to answer. You want to live 1 million years? What for? With whom? Okay? So anyway, and so Buddhism here, going back to slide 760, Buddhism speaks of transcending the 3 realms, meaning that if you live here, and you got stuck here in this world, okay, this haha world, okay, the world of suffering, okay, then it's not good for you. It doesn't end well for you ultimately. Okay, that's why you have to transcend the 3 realms by opening your wisdom. Because even if you live longer, live 10,000 years, then you eventually will die, and you still are not above the sufferings of having a body. You still have to wash it. You still have to cut your hair. Yeah? You have to eat. You have to go to the toilet, and so forth. All those things that come with having a body. Okay? So that's suffering right there. That's a big picture. All right? So don't be enamored by unimportant things that sound cool, but actually are misguided. Okay? All right. So in Buddhism, Buddha is very wise. He taught us the philosophy so that we can transcend our world and end our suffering, okay, and even never suffer again. So he taught the principles in the small and great vehicles, Hinayana and Mahayana. And he also taught in the Chan school, the provisional teachings or actual teachings, okay? And so Buddhism is far more beneficial for you, in other words. Anyone has any problems? I went to Korea. I met a lot of people who believe in non-Buddhist practices, and they got some responses. Okay? They recite these mantras, or they pray to these gods and goddesses. They get responses. Whoopee. Okay? I remember even a guy who prayed to the ghosts and so forth and got responses, some responses. And then so he captured all these dead babies and put their soul into a vase, and he seals it, okay? After with water or something, and then he would order these spirits around, these ghosts around to do things and so forth. And after he died, the wife came to me and said, "Oh, what do I do with these things? I know they're no good for me because they are ghosts. I don't know how to handle them." Okay? I look at her and say, "Well, I don't know how to handle them either. Can you go ask someone else, please?" And she kept harassing me, so I said, "Okay, I'll take them for you. Get them some rebirth blessings, and that's good enough. Don't worry if they come out. I will play with them." Okay, so we're not scared of all these things. You see, it's not a big deal for us. Okay, behave yourself. Okay, so anyway, any questions? No questions? Boy, you are really spoiled. I speak for an hour and a half during lectures, and you sit there and say, "Wow, yeah." It's like entertainment for you. This is too much. I'm spoiling you. Free entertainment, yeah? All right, next, 761. Any questions about Confucianism and Taoism? Those are two major religions in China, and they're very, very good. They're impressive, okay? Because they are teachings from Buddhist sages. So you see, the Buddhist sages, they use expedience to help prepare these people, okay? And it turns out, when Buddhism came to China, a lot of the early disciples in China were actually the Taoists. Okay, all right. So you see, the Buddhists are not scared of those things, those approaches. They are not a threat. We don't feel threatened by them. Okay, we embrace them. It's okay. All right. Questions? Comments? Okay. Whatever suits your fancy, it's okay with us. 761. LL says there's a Western region, meaning India. India is the west of China, because this is spoken from the perspective that the Chinese make divisions into two internal teaching, external teaching, 6 outside way masters. These are the, in India back then, there used to be 6 major non-Buddhist teachers, and they advocated things like permanence, impermanence, nihilism, and so forth. All confused teachings, but it's okay. So the Buddha, when the Buddha came to India, he helped his students recognize how erroneous his teachings were. So he taught the Buddhist teachings to help clarify and remove the confusion in those people. So that's why initially a lot of the Buddha's disciples in India were from the Brahmanism and the various Indian followers, externalist followers, okay? And Master YongHua says, I detail those positions, those teachings of these Indian teachers, outside externalist teachers, in the Shrangma Sutra that I made a commentary, okay? You're free to take into I don't take them seriously. Don't worry about it, okay? But Master YongHua here is flexing his muscles. He says, these are the externalist ways that the Indian Buddhist masters had to deal with. And I said, let bygone be bygone. Okay, that happened for India. It's not that relevant to us. To me, it's not that important anymore. We have some Indian friends who have been studying with us. That's fine. And you want to study them, go back to study them. But it's no point, because if you might as well first learn Buddhism and then use Buddhism as a reference point, and then you go and study anything you like, Taoism, Confucianism, or Hinduism, yoga, and so forth. It's perfectly okay, but you have the proper references first, all right? And so I would urge you, you're curious, first learn about Buddhism to have the reference points. Just like I myself, when I came to learn Buddhism, I came too late. My master was dying. I didn't know that, because I thought he'll be around for another 25 years, but he didn't. So that's my premise of becoming a monk, because I thought he'll be around for 20 years, 25 years, so I have plenty of time to learn Chan from him. He knew that I was looking for that, but he didn't tell me. So he died like a few months after he allowed me to shave my head. Anyway, I was a sucker. So, but what I had was the teachings that he had. So his teaching is profound, and I used it as my references. So after that, the first 4 years I was as a novice, I learned his teachings, okay, and resented the way I was treated. I was not a good person anyway, too arrogant. And after that, after I departed, I left. I use it as reference points against all the other existing monks and the other patriarchs. So my point being that I lucked out, that I have reference points. So that's very important for you to have to choose the proper reference points. Okay, let me tell you, my personal experience has been that I heard stories about him, how he taught, okay, but couldn't understand it. There's no way for me to understand why he did certain things. Give you an example. I was at Long Beach Monastery in their young novice training program. So the Long Beach Monastery, is that here, right? Yeah, it's here. It's a big monastery. It's actually slightly bigger than Wei Mountain Temple combined. Okay, actually it's bigger because it has 2 levels and then 3 levels. There's a basement and then a thing here. So actually slightly bigger, not much bigger. Okay? And so he put aside that monastery to train about 17, 18 kids. And I was one of the novices at the time. So I was sort of like teacher's aide, the teacher's assistant, TA. So the Heng Chang was giving them assignments, and I would have to like tutor them to make sure they do the homework. Okay, that's my role. And so he, so I heard only stories about what he did. What happened is I heard that Master YongHua used to come to the temple, and he has his own apartment. Okay, he own 1-bedroom apartment on the 2nd floor, and he would let the young novices stay with him. They take turns. They stay with him. Okay, back then, we're talking about 25 years ago. Nowadays, I would never dare do that because of these rumors of child molestation and so forth. All you have to do is have a parent who's unhappy with you, say, "You molested my child," and you're dead. Okay? It doesn't matter true or not, but you spend your time defining yourself. So anyway, so he used to allow them to sleep in his apartment for like a day or 2. I don't know what he did. Okay? They didn't tell us. It's just following whatever. I don't know. And the kids didn't tell me either. They didn't like me, so why would they tell me? So, we don't like you. But the point is that whatever he did, okay, it's way beyond my comprehension. Because after all that, they were there 2 years, and then I was there for 2 years, that's 4 years, and then about a year or 2 later, after I was there for 2 years and I left, a year or 2 later after I left, they disbanded. And all of them returned to lay life. All of them. I'm the only novice left of that program that was not teaching me anything. So in a strange way, it doesn't make sense, but that program there is for me to be exposed to how to train young novices. Because he gave instructions on what to do with young novices. Okay? So anyway, do you see, there's no way for me to comprehend why he would put aside to me, because in a business perspective where I came from, you put aside a several $million property and then you end up losing them all. It's a failure to me. Okay? And of course, that's why I couldn't understand what he did, a lot of things he did. And so even though I didn't understand what he did, what I got was the results he produced in his disciples and the instructions that he taught about Chan and about other things. And those are my reference points, not what he did. You understand? And so that's the role of the patriarch. There's no way for you to understand why he does certain things. But the teachings are fundamental guidelines or reference points for you. Okay? No way for us to understand the sages' behaviors and their experience. For Master YongHua's level, I would tell you this. My experience with him has been everything he does is 100% experience. Nothing is real with it, Sky. I mean, with a great master. So back then already, when I heard stories about him, I said, yeah. I didn't believe anything he did. Okay? But I stuck to his teachings only. Because to try to understand him is impossible. Okay? So reference points, folks, is very, very important. That's what saved me. Same thing with the Buddha. Buddha's teaching is even more important than Master Hsuan teachings. All right? But you're not at that level yet. Feels better, no? 762. Furthermore, if one makes a nirvana the basis for a half and whole, since the final two are both whole, there should not be the additional words part of.
又依涅盘为半满者，后二即满，不应复有一分之言。
Okay, so now Master Jing Liang is a real big-time scholar. He understands the Tripitaka inside out, okay? Especially, he understands the Avatamsaka Sutra to great depths. So that's why he's a real one of the bigger scholars in Buddhism. He's a Mahasattva. And he says, after he listing out all these Dharma masters who did their best to classify the Buddhist teaching, he would put his own comments. He says, you know, this guy here, Master Venerable Yuen here, the way he divided them is off. And he says, you know, whatever, don't worry about it. Okay, doesn't matter. Half word, full word. I want you to remember half word and whole word teaching. Half word is Hinayana, whole word teaching is Mahayana, basically. Okay, and so forth. So don't worry about the rest, because this guy, Venerable Yuen here, is not that important. I want you to remember only the important concepts that will be used as accepted by the sages. Okay? So far, so good? So don't worry about the details here. Okay? Don't burden yourself with unimportant stuff. 764. And when there is only attainment of the part which is that of not changing, how can that be called the whole?
其但得不变一分，起名为满。
And so 765, he says, furthermore, he also criticized him. He says, if this Master Yuen here talked about, hey, what happened in translation? Never mind, sorry, I'll take you for granted. You're not supposed to be here, man. You're supposed to work. All right, so he says, this Master Yuen here talk about the principle of true suchness. And if it's not changing, then why do you call it whole teaching? Okay, true suchness is the treasury of the Buddhist teaching. Okay, everything is there. All Buddhist teaching is contained in true suchness, and or the treasury of the Buddha's store and so forth. Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, so Master Jing Liang says, this Venerable Yuen here, his classification sucks. Don't take it seriously. It's okay. Okay, he tried. Master Yuen tried, but it's okay. He failed. Okay, he tried and good efforts, but he falls short because of lack of wisdom. See, that's what happens in Buddhism. You try to do something before you have real wisdom. That's when you get in trouble. That's what you should learn from this point here. Venerable Yuen has good intentions, is well-meaning, but he doesn't have enough wisdom to start trying to classify the whole Buddhist teachings. When your wisdom is still too low, it's not complete, and you try to tackle a bigger problem than you can handle. It's what's the American expression, English expression? Bite off more than you can chew. That kind of thing. Okay? It's not helpful. All right? 767. And he continues, Master Jing Liang continued. He says, how can the Nirvana Sutras, half-word teaching and whole-word teaching, only be talking in terms of two kinds of emptiness, meaning the people of the Dharma? how can it not be speaking of principle, wonderful existence, and reproaching emptiness? Okay, and so he said, if you really have great wisdom, you would not do it like this Venerable Yuan here, how he divided it. It's because basically Venerable Yuan probably wasn't enlightened enough yet. His wisdom is too limited. So what lesson we learn from this? Okay. I'm sorry? Oh, we didn't? Oh, sorry. 765. It's because of him walking in and distracting me. It's never my fault. Yes, go first.
Emitofuo Master, so this is regarding what we were talking about Taoism. So the other day someone told me that Lao Tse was a disciple of the Buddha, that the Buddha sent to China
Yes.
to start propagating the Buddhism.
Yes.
And that he was born with the long white beard. Is that true?
Yes, it's true. That's Master Xinhua's teachings. I don't know, but if Master Xinhua says so, it's true.
Okay, thank you, Master.
Okay, all right, no problem. Anyone else? He will not mess around with this. Okay, JC.
예, 안녕하십니까, 마스터. 질문 드리겠습니다. 그 회사에서 그 이제 죄업에 대한 카르마에 대한 질문을 좀 드리고 싶습니다. 회사에서 이제 제가 선화상인님 그 좋은 어구와 사진이 있는 그 책받침을 제가 만들어서 이제 가지고 다닙니다. 책받침을 가지고 다니는데 여기까지 일단 통역 부탁드리겠습니다.
Master, I have a question about karma. At work, I bring a picture of Master Shenhua.
예, 그 선화상인 그 좋은 구절과 그 사진이 있는데 제 동료분이 의도치 않게 그 사진을 뒤에서 보더니 내가 재밌는 생각이 들었는데 하나 알려줄까 장프로 저한테 이렇게 얘기를 하는 겁니다. 그리고 사실 말씀이 난 몰랐는데 이 스님 그 보니까 뒤에서 보니까 문어 대가리처럼 생겼는데 이렇게 얘기를 하는 겁니다.
So my coworker saw the picture, and then he said to me, "Oh, I have a very interesting idea." I look at the picture, and he looked like the octopus.
옥토퍼스. 제가 어떻게 감히 그 세이지 성인을 이렇게 얘기할 수 있지? 근데 그런 생각이 들으면서 근데 그분이 이제 모르고 이렇게 얘기를 한 거니까 제가 처음에는 조금 솔직히 언짢았지만은 이제 제가 그 나중에 마음속으로 그냥 제가 좀 이건 좀 아닌 것 같다 싶어서 제 나름의 어떤 마음속으로 대신 일단의 그 일종의 그 참여를 했습니다. 제가 여쭤보고 싶은 거는 첫 번째로 이분이 이제 의도치 않게 의식치 않게 어떤 그 성인의 그 외모를 보고 이렇게 좀 우스꽝스럽게 그렇게 이제 일종의 구업을 지었다고 생각을 했는데 의도치 않게 얘기를 했어도 이게 구업이 되는가 하는 게 이제 첫 번째 질문이고요. 두 번째는 제가 이제 그냥 순수한 마음에 대신 이제 제가 불보살님들한테 참여를 구했는데 이렇게 할 경우 어느 정도 이제 소재가 되는데 도움이 될 수 있을지 여쭈고 싶습니다.
So when I first heard that, I thought, how dare he's a sage, but he didn't know about it, and then so I tried to repent by myself. So my question is that he did unintentionally. So in that case, is he making a karma? And my second question is that I repent for himself by myself, and then is it helpful to eliminate karma?
They say what?
Is it helpful to get rid of the karma?
Okay. First of all, if he looks at Master Xinhua's image, a photo, and sees it as an octopus, so what? You think that Master YongHua is sitting there. For example, he's sitting there in person. Okay? Let's make it specific. If he sits there in person on your desk, it's kind of weird, wouldn't that be? He's sitting there in person, and then your friend walks by and look at him and say, hey, octopus, hey, you have an octopus on your desk. What's the big deal? Serious. If you look at Master YongHua as a dragon, what's the big deal? Look at Master YongHua as a Buddha, what's the big deal? So, line up, YongHua. Oh my God. If you're in the US, okay, you're going to have problems with the Catholics here. They'll come to you and say, isn't this a Buddhist monk? I say, yeah. I say, but you should not mix religion with work. In the US, I don't know about Korea, okay? And you, of course, you do as you please in your country, in your desk. But in the US, I would not tell my disciples to bring some Buddhist paraphernalia, okay, to your office. Because we want to separate the office from religion. Okay? Because it's hardly the proper environment for religious things. Okay? So if you were in the US, I would advise you to remove his photo. Okay? Maybe if you want to, get the photo and as a pendant and wear it facing yourself, just in case. And inside of your shirt. Okay? Because in Buddha, in the US, for example, religion is basically a personal thing. You don't want to, unlike the Catholics and Christians, they want to convert everyone to Buddhism, to their own faith and so forth. We don't. It's a very private thing for us. We respect all religions. Whether you're a Taoist, you're a Confucius, you follow Confucius, or Falun Gong, or yoga, whatever, we respect you. It's not a problem with us. Okay, we don't try to tell you we're better or yours is wrong and ours is right. Okay, it's no such a thing. Because within Buddhism itself, never mind about outside of Buddhism, we have enough problems that Hinayana calling us deviant demons and Tibetan calling themselves better than us and so forth. We have plenty of issues ourselves. Who are we to tell, to worry about other things? So keep it to yourself is what we do in the US. Now, having said that, teaching me about Korea, is it okay? And don't answer YongHua, I want to hear from the other people because I know you're opinionated. Okay? Can I hear from Koreans, please? Is it okay for you to bring your religious things, like let's say a cross, to put it on your desk at work or something? Is that okay? Is it acceptable in your culture? Why? What happened? Why are you so quiet? If there's no volunteer, I will start calling names. Let me see. Which name do I have? Oh, YongHua.
마스터 질문이. 잠깐 제가 좀 설명을 정확히 못 드렸는데요. 제가 이제 막 책상에 이렇게 다른 사람들 보이게 두진 않았고요. 그 PC, 그 노트북 PC 위에다가 선반 위에 일단 올려놨었는데 친한 동료분이 와서 이게 잘 돌아다니는 곳이 있는데 그분이 이제 그 PC 위에 이제 그 올려놓은 걸 보고서 이렇게 쓱 보고서 재밌는 생각이 떠올랐는데 약간 이런 식으로 좀 연출이 된 겁니다. 그래서 제가 뭐 공공연하게 딱 붙여놓은 건 아니고요. 잠깐 그 제 공간에 놔뒀는데 그분이 이제 좀 이렇게 완더링 하다가 이제 보셨다고 좀 보시면 될 것 같습니다.
I just put the picture on top of my computer. So it's not. I didn't put it in officially to make everybody see it. I put it in my private space.
Okay, but culturally speaking, in Korea, is that okay for you to bring, let's say, a picture of Jesus to work? Is that acceptable? That's my question.
허용은 되는데 좀 특이하게 볼 거는 같습니다. 전반적으로 봤을 때.
It's acceptable, but very special case.
Okay. One opinion. Ason, what do you know? Yeah, that's her, yeah. I know I have an accent.
법적으로는 무슨 그림을 가지고 다니든지 누가 보게 하든지 합법적인 것입니다. 그러나 일반 사람들은 저 사람 좀 괴짜야라고 볼 수는 있겠습니다.
In the respect of law, it's okay to have whatever picture I have, but normal people might think that I'm very strange.
It's so Korean. They said, yeah, it's normal, but then it's not normal. Okay, let me go to JMT and ask someone. Mukyo, is it normal? Oh, I know. The girl just stood up. Hyun, is it okay? You management, is it okay? Would you frown upon if your disciple, your subordinates, bring religious artifacts to the office?
것을 사무실에 가져갑니다.
종교적인 들리시죠?
네.
종교적인 것을 본인의 책상이나 주변에 놓는 거에는 문제가 없습니다. 그런데 문제가 되는 경우는 사적인 모임을 만들거나 어떤 사람들을 종교적으로 유도하기 위해서 하는 행동이 생겼을 때는 문제가 됩니다.
To put the religious thing in their own desk, it's not a problem. The problem is that when they want to make some group, the private group, religious group, or trying to convert others.
I see. Okay. So culturally. In the US, by the way, you judged. It's not a good image for you to bring religion or religious things to your office. It shows sort of like you are like a radical. Am I correct, sir? Jesse? Do you ever work? Okay. So in the US, it's kind of it's a taboo thing. We want to separate religion things from the office. Okay. But apparently it's not the case in Korea. Let's go to Europe. Professor, S2. Is it okay in Europe to bring religious things to your office?
네, 사무실에 가져가는 것이 괜찮습니까?
No, he doesn't need translation.
그는 통역이 필요 없어요.
Don't translate that.
I can speak only for Spain.
Yeah.
스페인은
Nowadays, in the last years, it's not good considered. It's legally, there are a lot of problems if you do that. It's better not to do that.
Legally,
forbidden,
problems?
but it's not-
What do you mean legally?
Yes, because they are trying to get religion out of very public spheres like school and universities and workplaces. Also, there are some. I don't know exactly the laws, but in the last years there have been some movements in this direction. It's not advisable.
I see. You see, so it's very much like the U.S. It's not forbidden, but actually management doesn't like it. It causes frictions. Yes? Are you ruminating like a cow? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, say.
Yes, it's what you say.
This is what I say. Okay. Why do I ask
방금
you?
말씀하신 것이 맞습니다.
Okay, yes, go ahead, 4.
This is from YouTube comment.
Yes.
Emily T. Someone at my work hung up a cross on the cork board. That's right where the employee entrance is. And no one did anything though.
Yeah, who hung it? Maybe like the department head or something. No one would dare say anything. But then they whisper, he put it there. He's radical. Okay. Yeah. But just in case, if you're shot and you die, ask him to come over and say a few things for you. Anyway, so okay, so it's interesting. I'm learning. We are as teachers of Buddhism, we need to be sensitive to the cultural differences. So that's why I ask these things. Thank you for your input. If you again, if you do that and your person makes a comment about that, this is one of the drawbacks they have. That is, you put an image there and they saw something, and let's say for them to see an octopus is not a big deal. But let's say someone walks by and then spit on that, now that person is creating offenses. Okay? And you are indirectly responsible for that because you provoke them. You see that? And therefore, the second part of the question is that you repent on their behalf. Yeah, it helps a little bit, okay, but what about your offense? Okay, and then what makes you think that your repenting will be able to provide 100% relief? Okay, so it's complications. Yes, it could help a little bit, but if there's some serious offenses, you may not be able to help that person recover. Okay? So indirectly, you are responsible for that person creating severe karmas. Having said that, I myself, and don't do this, swear to me you won't do it. I mean, never mind. When I was a lay person, I look at the Buddha and say, I cursed at the Buddha. And now I'm a monk, trying to redeem myself. You see that? So, Buddhas don't get offended. Okay? I hope. Praise the Lord. Okay, it's okay. Take it easy. Okay? Either way, it's about your heart. You do it for yourself, that's fine. If people make a mistake, we try to help, that's fine too. Okay? Don't worry. Don't be too worried about it. We try our best. All right? And we do things that we commit offenses, but out of stupidity, that's normal. Okay? So, my question, my answer, general answer is don't worry about it. You want to leave it there, leave it there. Okay? It's up to you. Okay? All right? If your management doesn't mind, then why not? You can do whatever you wish. That's culturally acceptable. I have no problems with it. All right. Let me go back to 765. I apologize for messing up the commentary slide. here he's talking about the principle of true suchness, which is true suchness is your true Buddha nature, which is unchanging, okay, can never change. How can that be called whole? Okay, and so the way that this monk Dharma Master Yuan petition or classify the teaching has holes, has too many holes. 766. Moreover, how can the nirvana's half and whole only be in terms of the two kinds of emptiness? How can it not be speaking of wonderful existence and reproaching emptiness?
又涅盘半满，其为约二空，其彼不说，妙有而何空耶？
Okay, 767. And this is the slide that I jumped to. And so in the Nirvana Sutra, talked about half-word teaching as well as whole-word teaching. Okay, again, the jargon here should be aware of, so that when other people throw these words at you, jargons at you, don't be say, huh? Just listen. One ear goes out the other. Doesn't matter. They don't get it themselves. So don't be scared. Don't be impressed by people throwing jargons at you. Okay? They don't know what they're talking about, including scholars. Okay? Don't be scared. Or Catholics, don't be scared. Okay? Accept them. Okay? Have fun. But it's not about who's better. You just embrace them all. Okay? Concept here, jargon, two kinds of emptiness of the people and the dharmas, that you need to memorize. That's a jargon that's important to you. Okay? And another jargon concept, wonderful existence, okay? This is what the Avatamsaka teaching is about as we delve more deeply into this, into the flower adornment teachings. You learn more about true emptiness and wonderful existence, okay? And those are pure, high-level Mahayana concepts, okay? It's not about teaching. It's about or understanding. It's about you hearing it. Okay, planting the seeds, prajna seeds of wisdom that we talked about a couple of years ago when we first started. I said when you study the Avatamsaka Sutra, you're planting vajra seeds because of these important jargons. Okay, they'll be there for you and they sprout into something called wonderful enlightenment. Yes, DTT, question.
Hey, Master. One of your past lectures on the Heart Sutra, so it's been a few years, I know, you said that you taught to understand the teaching that emptiness is form and form as emptiness as two sides of the same hand, I recall. Can you, if that being true, would it also be true that self and no self are two sides of the same hand? Or is it completely different, Master?
It's the same thing. Form, emptiness is the same as self and no self.
So if that's the case, then the belief that we are no self by itself is incorrect then when people just say that.
It's not about incorrect or correct. It's about can you experience it. The teaching here is, first of all, I teach you about emptiness and non-emptiness, self and non-self. Okay? That's just a concept. I want you to hear about it. And so when I teach you meditation or Pure Land or tantric practices or reciting sutras or bowing and so forth, all those practices, when you do those, the way we lead you, the way we train you, will help you experience those states of self and non-self yourself. Case in point. Let's talk about that talk turkey. It's not concepts. For example, when we teach you chant, when you practice chant, okay, you start first, like both of you, you're very low level, okay, mean desire level, desire realms, and then you go to first dhyana, okay, and then you go to second dhyana. When you go to first dhyana, you first have a glimpse yourself because of your chant practice. You first have a glimpse of something called emptiness, just a first glimpse. And that's so revealing, so different, so wonderful in itself. The first time in your life, in this life, where you experience something called peace. Okay? And then, so you have a flavor of peace. Okay? And that's real, that we want you to experience. It's not talk. Until then, all you hear of is emptiness. Well, you don't know what emptiness, how it feels like. What does it do for you? All you know is that the emptiness thing is good for you, is wonderful for you, but you have no clue what it is. It's very much like if you want to learn about God, okay, you want to say like many Hindus come to me, Hindu followers come to me and said, I like to be near my God, okay? And back then, I didn't know what to do. And he looked at me and said, you a monk, right? Yeah, huh? What kind of monk? Buddhist monk. He said, I'm Hindu. I said, okay. Hello, Hindu. No, it's not my name. My name is blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what do you want? He says, I want to be near my God. I said, and you asking me? You a Hindu, I'm Buddhist. And you asking me how to be near your God? He said, yeah, because no one taught me how to be near my God. Okay, do you have to be near, have a way to be near your God? And back then I said, but why would you want to be near your God? It's so unimpressive. Why you set your sights so low? I used to be so radical. Nowadays I get older and say, oh, you want to be near your God? Be near your God. I show you how. You have to learn to embrace them. You know, people, this is what people want. Why not? Give them hot dogs. Vegan hot dogs. It tastes terrible, by the way. Okay? Anyway, so the point here is that you should help people get what they want instead of get what you want them to get. That's what Buddhism is about. Okay? So in Buddhism, we teach you about emptiness. Here, this temple, this slide 767. This is emptiness that we talk about, and then we give you instructions, like a Chan instructions on how to experience it yourself. Okay? So we have a flavor, you have a taste of emptiness. Okay? First dhyana. And you like it. You say, wow, this is cool. And then we said, that's actually better. And then he said, how? He said, continue. Don't stop. And then you continue, you go to second dhyana. And you say, wow, you're right. This is better. Sort of. Okay? And then he said, don't stop. Third dhyana. And now the emptiness gets better and better and better. You see? My point being that, first of all, you learn about emptiness. And we show you how to experience emptiness. So you experience this emptiness here, next emptiness level, emptiness. When you get to higher level, that's when you experience the emptiness of the self. You see? So it's by design that we teach you these things. So eventually, when you get to that level, then when you go back to the concept in a Heart Sutra, this gentleman asked, and then you say, oh, that's what it means. emptiness of the self. I know what it is. Okay? So we never misled you at all. Buddha never lied to us. So that's the purpose of the teaching. Okay? You learn about the emptiness of the self, then you should experience that emptiness of the ego. And once you experience it, we teach you, don't stop there. Go further. Okay? Then you will experience something called non-emptiness, called wonderful existence. Okay, dokie? That's why form is emptiness, emptiness is form in the Heart Sutra. That you will experience. It's not just words. The Vietnamese or the scholars, the professors, the scholars, and the Chinese, or many people who read a lot of Buddhist teachings, experience only these words. They learn about the concepts, but never trained on how to experience it themselves, live it. It's very much like when you hear of this 3-star Michelin restaurant, you say, oh, you know, this is a great restaurant, and you've never been there. Don't you feel that you're missing something in life? You know something so great, tasty things, and you never know what it tastes like. You have to eat it. You have to be there to know what it's like. That's the same as Buddhism. So in other words, to keep it simple, Buddhism is like going to a 3-star restaurant. I'm kidding. You guys are so boring. God, you take everything so seriously. Okay? Finally, so wonderful existence, you need to understand the concept, and then also the concept of reproaching emptiness, meaning that this is from the Buddha himself. He says, I taught you guys about emptiness. And you stuck on emptiness. You need to move on. Get to move on, dudes and dudettes. Okay? And that's why he says, you guys are so attached to emptiness because I know emptiness is such a wonderful thing. It feels so great, so fantastic. But you have to move on. It's even better things. Okay? Yes, it's better than all the worldly things that the Catholics taught about, or the Taoists talked about, or Confucius talked about. Okay? That thing called true emptiness is fantastic, but there's also something called wonderful existence that we will teach you, and you want you to experience yourself. All right? Okay? Have a full life. Because you deserve it. Don't stop short of all the fun in the world. Okay? So far, so good? That's Mahayana for you. That's our path. Okay? Okay, dokie? Did I answer the question? Self and non-self. Okay, dokie. Okay. Very good. I have 3 more minutes. Any questions? Oh, we still have one more thing. Okay, let me finish this slide and we stop. 768. The sound hearers, meaning the small vehicles, just understand emptiness but not non-emptiness. That's true. They stop at emptiness because they felt so great. They experienced this great thing that they never experienced before. And they're attached to it. That's why they don't go further. In contrast, have no worries. When you come to us, we follow our approach. We bring you to emptiness, and before you get there, we look at you already and say, hey, don't stop. You hear? Okay? Because you need to experience non-emptiness. After emptiness, you need to go into non-emptiness. Okay, dokie? So that's why we paved the way for you already. It's much more fun than that. You like it. Guaranteed. Okay? So that's what sound here is a problem. Next level, the bodhisattvas understand emptiness and non-emptiness. Okay? And that's where you want to go to at the higher levels. You understand more and more and more, and you become true emptiness and wonderful existence. Okay? And that's the natural progression that our people have got to. All right? Yeah. That's a big picture. Don't stop prematurely. Okay? That's all. Keep going. Okay? Why is that? Have you a small tip? Because you don't have a roadmap. It's beyond Google Maps. It's beyond Apple Maps. It's beyond Waze Maps. It's beyond MapQuest or whatever maps you use. They're all limited. Okay? You have to remember that you don't know. There's no way for you to understand. Like in my own experience, I stopped trying to understand or justify what my teacher was doing. I couldn't understand it. And I was telling my disciple, I said, for the last 17 years, I've been telling you things here. I know you don't get it. But all I could do is help you go a little bit further and further. And now, when you get here, you look back and say, wow, I didn't realize I went this far. It's way beyond the maps of the world. Okay? And you know what I said? I said, keep going. It's not done yet. You ain't done yet. Okay? And so, because that's the realms of this sutra, Avatamsaka Sutra, that we all are learning about. It's so cool. Don't stop. Okay? Keep going. There's much more wonderful things to learn and to experience. Okay, dokie? I remind you that because I know most of you have no clues what I'm talking about. No clues. There's no way for you to understand why I do certain things. I know that. And I know my disciples have been with me for a long, long time. Okay? Because I know they don't understand my instructions, my things. And so that's how it is. There's no way for you to understand. No way for me to see why my master did certain things. Okay? Because he saw more than I can. He sees a lot more than I can. And that's why it's way beyond us. Okay? And you have to trust that it's not possible for us to understand why Buddha does certain things, why the Mahasattvas do certain things, and you just know that they mean well. Okay? And you just have to have faith. Okay? You don't get more blessings, meaning your blessings are running out. That's life. You used up all your blessings. Okay? I tell you, I close with this. Master YongHua, my teacher, my idol, his entire life is to plant blessings. His entire life is to create blessings. That's all he did. He came here to create blessings. For 74, 75 years, that's all he did. People at his levels, that's what they do. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.